What's going on, guys? Sorry in advance for the poor production quality. I'm on a bit of a time crunch, but without further ado, let's get right into it. So, for the past month, we've been getting some of the most peak One Piece chapters of all time. It was only a matter of time until we needed to slow down again to catch our breath. I need to do that more frequently. Anyways, I'm not saying this chapter is bad by any means. I still really love this chapter. In fact, I think it's the perfect chapter to leave us off right before the break. It doesn't give us too much, but it also doesn't give us too little. To start the chapter off, we get Luffy just casually bouncing in place, trying to think up a name for his previous attack, which for those who don't remember, went right through Kaido's head. Kaido, shocked and confused, asks Luffy what the heck is going on. Like, who are you? Are you Joy Boy or are you Luffy? And right as Kaido asks that question, we get a cut to Zunisha, who is drowning in nostalgia, stating that it feels like Joy Boy is right there, and they can't help but feel that this is all an act of destiny or fate. This makes me even more certain that fate is going to play an important philosophical role in the series, and I don't mean like the Naruto version of fate or destiny. I mean the fate that is going to be pushed onto Luffy. At some point, Luffy is going to be presented with the knowledge of this fate or determined destiny, and he's not going to be happy about it. And Zunisha could be the one to present Luffy with this clash of ideals. Or it could be Momonosuke or Yamato or anyone really that knows more about Joy Boy. When we go back to Luffy, he proudly states his usual saying when somebody asks who he is, by telling Kaido that he will become the king of the pirates. And at this point, it kind of feels like he's already there, like all he needs to do now is find the One Piece. Honestly, what other pirate is going toe-to-toe with Luffy at this point? I mean, sure, we could still see a power-up from Kaido, which I will get into later, and yeah, we still have to fight Shanks, but come on, Big Mom is not standing a chance against Luffy at this point, and Blackbeard? Luffy's abilities are going to be the perfect antithesis to Blackbeard's powers. No doubt it will definitely be a good fight, but Luffy is so ungodly powerful at this point, I'd probably put him in top 3 next to Kaido and Shanks. And I don't think we know enough about Imu yet to determine his or her power, but we can still estimate that Shanks, because he's a Yonko, is probably around the same level as Kaido and Big Mom. We get a really cool page with Kaido and Luffy throwing attacks at each other. Kaido swings his Kanabo so fast it looks like his arm is staying still. Luffy, like the last chapter, is getting his body imprinted by the spikes, making him look really goofy. When Luffy fires back at Kaido, it's kind of like a Gatling gun, but more random and wild, if that's a good way to put it. And unlike Luffy, Kaido is really taking some serious damage here. It honestly is hard to tell if Luffy is actually still being seriously injured by Kaido's attacks. It kind of just seems like he's absorbing the blunt from all of them. So right before we cut to everybody else below, we probably get one of the funniest panels in this chapter, where Luffy grabs his crotch and pulls himself up to avoid Kaido's attack. I gotta admit, I laughed out loud when I saw what was going on here, but it took me a second. I had to look closer at the panel. Onigashima is on fire, and everyone on the side of the Alliance is trying to find a way to escape. Nami and Chopper are reunited and worry about the rest of the crew's whereabouts. Beppo is being dead weight because apparently it's too hot for him and he needs to be carried. And the entire crew is still saying that they need help from Law, even though Law literally just got done fighting an Emperor of the Sea. Like, come on guys, give him a break and pull your own weight for once. Speaking of that, can we acknowledge Chopper for being a furry animal like Beppo and not complaining about how hot it is, even after all the tough battles he's been through? Chopper is still powering forward. I mean, remember all the way back in Alabasta where he struggled with the heat, and now he's literally in a burning pit of fire and is focused only on finding the rest of the crew. Absolute legend. Sanji, like everybody else, is pointing out the fact that the fire is going to be an issue in trying to escape. Apu is with the number Inbi, and they are both staggering to find a way to escape, arguing and bickering with each other while trying to figure out a solution. God Usopp appears to save the day and attempts to use some of his tactics to put out the fire, but unfortunately his godly powers are not enough to create a path to safety. And my personal MVP of Wano, Hamlet, is just, doing his best as the hype man. We all love you, Hamlet. You're doing great, buddy. But the real MVP of this chapter, Raizo, has a plan. In fact, he's been waiting for this moment since Oden's execution. The really cool thing about this is how Oda foreshadowed it earlier in the raid, when Raizo deflected Kaido's Boro breath and shot it back at him. A common theory when Zunisha appeared is that Zunisha would use their trunk to put out the fire on Onigashima. And it turns out Raizo had saved a rain shower produced by Zunisha with the same power he used to contain Kaido's attack. Oda took something that could have been very simple and planned it out in a much more creative way more than a year before it actually happened. And honestly, it's more effective this way too. It still amazes me how good Oda is at planning small events like this so far in advance, and how creative creative he is with the application of it. So not only does Raizo release this huge water shower, but because Jinbei is there as well, he can utilize his ability as a fisherman to direct the flow of the water and put out the fire more efficiently, without hurting anybody else on Onigashima, which is something that would have been an issue if Zunisha just poured water all over the top of Onigashima. This way, Luffy's battle with Kaido isn't interrupted either. It's the perfect execution for this tense situation. But there is still one more issue the Alliance has to deal with, because even if the fire goes out, there is still the potential of Onigashima falling onto mainland Wano, which would definitely cause more casualties. So now Momonosuke really has to step it up and create clouds strong enough to hold Onigashima and lower it slowly when Kaido's flame clouds start to wear out. Kaido is getting much weaker, much weaker, and that is stated by Yamato in this chapter. His flame clouds are starting to dissipate, and now Yamato is being the best hype man ever, next to Hamlet of course, motivating Momonosuke to kick it up into high gear and save everybody. The whisker grabbing always works, guys, remember that for future reference. I'll probably make a video diving deeper into this subject, but it's important to remember that we still have a potential tragedy incoming to cap off Act 3 of Wano. There is still a great chance that Kaido will be getting a power-up from this battle. Historically, the big bad in the arc almost always has some sort of power-up or a secret ability up their sleeve. Enel with his lightning god form, Moria with his 1000 shadows, Hody with his drug addiction, and Doflamingo with his awakening. Kaido is being pushed for the first time in this entire arc, so it only makes sense for him to either get a new power-up or reveal a trick up his sleeve that maybe comes with a cost. Something we know about zone awakenings is that the user loses the control to the animal instinct of the creature within the zone devil fruit. Maybe Kaido has some sort of control over this since he's had the devil fruit for a while, but the potential of him losing control is still there, which is why he has restrained from using it until really being pushed into a corner by Luffy. From what I've seen in the past few chapters, Luffy is definitely being portrayed to have the upper hand, but it can't stay that way forever. Luffy's final attack needs to feel like that last, pushed beyond limits, tense feeling that's always there for the finale of every fight. He can't just power up and win the fight with ease. There would be absolutely no tension in that. The resolution feels more rewarding when there's more tension applied to it. That is why it makes sense to me that this fight still has one more stage to get through before we finally see the conclusion. On another note, this last panel, Luffy can control lightning. This is insane, and it actually really makes a lot of sense when you think about it. I mean, he can't produce lightning like Enel, but he is rubber, so it only makes sense for him to be able to utilize lightning to his advantage. In this moment, Luffy probably remembered his fight with Enel and thought, I wonder if I could use this to attack Kaido. I'll just try grabbing lightning. And what do you know, Kaido is looking up at God Luffy, about to get the shock of his life. Just brainstorming here, but maybe when we cut back to the fight, Kaido is gonna be down, burned to a crisp. His eyes are going to be white, letting us know that he's definitely knocked out. This might be when we finally get the start of Kaido's flashback, and when Kaido starts to come back, he is transforming into his awakened zone form, which Luffy is now going to have to contend with. We have a break this week, so I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of awesome ideas thrown out there, and I'm super excited to speculate as to what could happen next. If you have any cool ideas, please comment below so we can all brainstorm together. The most important thing though is to keep it civil and don't fall into the self-serving theory fallacy, which is something that I discuss in depth with this video right here. If you're a theorist, you should definitely watch this before making your next theory.